Ikaw na. Sige.
Well, I would begin with my experience as a student journalist. So I brought with me a copy of.
Show and tell. May props siya,
Yes.
may props. Okay.
So this is just for contrast, no. This is the Gaidon now. This was the Gaidon 2 decades ago. So this was when I was a student. So we worked on this, and I really felt when I was a part of Gaidon, I felt I was really sa totoo lang, mas marami akong oras sa Gaidon kaysa sa nakatingin sa akin si Ma'am Chay.
Kaysa sa ano?
Kaysa sa school?
Sa school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oo. And I survived journalism, my journalism courses by reading the news and watching the news. But Ma'am Chay can attest to this, that I really did not read the readings. Minsan nabibisto niya, hindi.
Pero isa nang bobola ka sa recitation.
Well, it happens. It happens. Eh, yun nga lang.
Ikaw nakikinig mga estudyante.
As a teacher now, yun naman ang painful truth that I have to accept that I was in that position before. Pero
at least alam mo kung nambobola din sila.
Oo. It takes one to know one. But in Gaidon, I felt I was talagang hindi siya parang lang, for school lang, sabihin ng iba, for school lang. When I was in Gaidon, that was when I stumbled upon Kibuloy, Apollo Kibuloy. But then, that was, nung sa Gaidon kasi, I had a story, nakakita ako ng mga bata na nagbebenta ng, tawag dito, yung mga chichirya for their studies daw. So, magbibigay sila ng piece of paper saying na, please help me, I am doing this. And then I had a nice story. Sabi ko sa Gaidon editor, I have a nice feature. There are groups that help students. Napaka-naive, no? There are groups that help students pay for their tuition. So, nag-interview pa ako dito kay Father Jack Carroll because he was helping students. So, that was my idea. And then later on, sabi ko, parang may iba dito sa grupong ito Doon ko na naamoy. And then, tamang-tama, the next sem, my subject was investigative journalism under Ma'am Chay. Doon ko na nabungkal yung mga...
Fate.
Oo.
Scam.
Oo. But nung student din ako, that was my experience of that Kibuloy story. I really staked out dun sa tandang-tanda ko, giniba na yan, yung McDonald's sa Philcoa. Every afternoon, I would stay there to wait for a kid who would give me, tawag dito, yung ganon. And then ngayon syempre mas critical na ako, so kukunin ko na kung saan siya galing, ganyan. Pero yung the experience of a student journalist, it was really, parang, I felt I was doing the work that I wanted to do. And then when I entered the workforce, I joined Probe right after graduation. I felt like I was part of the Gaidon, only that I was being paid. So ganon, parang I think that's one memorable thing. And then another memorable thing would be when I joined Rappler, so marami
Show
akong
kasi,
props.
show don't tell, di ba? Show don't
So
tell.
when I was with Probe, that was traditional TV. Siyempre, we aired on ABS-CBN every Wednesday and all. Then when I went to Rappler, wala na akong kasamang cameraman. Wala ako lahat. And then I had this was my first Rappler tripod. Medyo sira na siya. It is a real artifact.
Wait, issue ng Rappler yan or binili mo?
Issued ng Rappler ito.
Uy, hindi mo pa binili. Hindi na kailangan.
Battle tested na talaga.
Ilang years na yan.
Kasama ko to sa Yolanda. When I went to Taclob, to Borongan, Eastern Samar, we covered Super Typhoon Yolanda. We got lost. Ako tsaka yung kasama kong cameraman si Franz Lopez, we got lost for 5 days without contact sa Rappler office. Oo,
Siyempre, nobody could make any calls.
Oo, akala nila kung ano na nangyari sa amin. Ay, hindi nila alam kumakain ako ng fried chicken.
Bakit pa?
Hindi, nawala ng
Signal, di ba?
Walang
Bagsak
signal.
lahat.
Walang
No,
signal.
bagsak lahat
So
eh.
We
fortunately,
couldn't contact anybody there.
Oo, we went.
Akala ko yung tanong mo, bakit fried chicken?
Fried chicken, oo. Bakit fried chicken? Mas
Naki-
curious ako doon.
nakitira
Wala akong
kami-
pakialam kung wala
nakitira
tumawag
ka-
sa'yo.
Nakitira kami doon sa kasama namin and fortunately at that time napunta kami sa isang lugar. Dapat kasi yung Yolanda would make landfall in Borongan, Eastern Samar, so we stationed there. But because of a lot of factors, nung nagbago ng course yung Yolanda, hindi na kami nakapag-change course. So that place was relatively safe.
Untouched, no?
Oo, relatively unsafe. And we also
Unsafe.
didn't know what happened to Tacloban.
Yeah.
We didn't know what
Oo,
the
clueless din
devastation
kayo.
elsewhere. But we just kept on doing our jobs. So, sige, maghanap tayo dito. So, lumayo pa kami. Nung nag-land travel kami doon sa malalapit na mga munisipyo, doon namin nakita na, grabe pala dito. But we didn't know that the base in Manila was already worrying about us, thinking maybe they got into trouble or maybe they are dead. We just kept on working. This tripod was with me. Yun nga lang, the bad side is ngayon nagkaroon naman ako ng sa likod. Yan naman ang mali sa kasi lagi ko to nasa backpack eh.
Mabigat.
Okay.
So
Mabigat ba?
Mabigat ito.
Mabigat.
And then I would run with this one. Medyo may yabang ka pa yan. Sabihin ng mga matatanda, wag mong gawin yan kasi hindi kaya ko to. Iiwan ko sila. Ngayon, ako naman ang naiiwan. Pero, yeah, yung mga ganyan
Hindi
experience.
kaya fried
really-
chicken pat ang dahilan.
Ano?
Kaya sumakit ang likod mo.
It's really priceless. But at the same time, to see the devastation in those areas and to be able to communicate it to a wider audience, especially nung nakabalik na kami sa Manila and we had the video of the devastation, humihingi sila ng tulong dun sa camera, dun sa aming video. And when we aired it, parang mararamdaman mo na you are doing something meaningful. Na kasi hindi yung mga ganun, parang first you were there also, hindi ba, BJ? Oo, parang iba yung feeling na there is meaning. You get tired, but you find it meaningful.
That you're able to document it. So,
Document
DJ, ganon,
it.
your experience there also?
I was there mga 3 weeks after. Pero yung devastation, I've been following parang displacements in 2009. So Typhoon Ondoy, Pepeng, so different experiences of displaced communities. And then yun nga, yung Yolanda was the pinnacle of it. I've heard of different stories from colleagues na yun nga, mahirap, yung iba nagkaroon ng PTSD, but also at the same time, I think one thing that Yolanda, the coverage of Yolanda heightened was yung the idea of resilience and the re-examination of that word.
Yeah.
Sa akin, at least, yun yung parang naging challenge. Parang
Resilience
na naman.
as a journalist or resilience of the
Of the
community?
people, of the
Yung
community,
ginagamit na word to describe the people. It was, yung experience for me, yun, mahirap talaga. Tsaka iba-iba, pag nasagiwan ka, ganito, we were with the Germans and the Norwegians, then they had this whole base setup, internet, may running water. Pagdating mo ng Tacloban, ng Eastern Samar, wala na. Yun talaga, pitch black, food was very scarce, and ayaw mo naman kumain pag nasa community ka.
Ano yung naalala mong visually, the scent, the smell?
Yeah.
Ano yung naalala mo distinctly?
Yung scent, hindi ko makakalimutan kasi from 3 weeks on, tas yung iba, pag nagre-recover, medyo fresh pa. Yung the scent of parang bakal yung amoy ng natuyo ng dugo.
Nagka-PTSD ka rin ba?
I think so, yes. I was able to talk to friends and colleagues about it. Parang to debrief.
Yeah.
Pero dahil matagal yung process of covering typhoons and the aftermath, of course, recovery, parang 2 taon ko pa siya kinover or 3 years after.
The things we go through kasi as journalists, di ba? Para bang we're also very affected. Pero parang we try to parang detach ourselves para hindi tayo masyadong emotionally affected or emotionally attached. Pero yung Yolanda kasi, although I didn't go there kunyari, nandun sina Pat nung November, when Yolanda struck, I went there a month later. Pero ganun pa rin yung mga storya. Pero nakita mo na yung gusto nilang bumangon ulit, parang ganon. And then, I met a young woman. Tapos yung kwento niya, and dito mo talaga makita yung why journalism is so meaningful. So, di ba, sanay tayo, the casualty count, 10 dead, 100 dead, 100 injured, parang ganon. Pero yung mga bilang na yun, yung mga numero, may ibig sabihin yun, it equals one human life. So I met this young woman and I was interviewing her. She had lost her sister and the husband of her sister and their 3-year-old boy. Nakita nila yung katawan ng brother-in-law niya sa may Coca-Cola factory doon sa Tacloban. And then a few meters, like 100 meters or so, nakita yung katawan ng sister niya. But then she said, but we never found the little boy, okay? And I never got over that kasi 3 years old yung bata. Tapos I still have a picture of him. His name is Tarin, Tarin. Very cute boy. This family name Sustento, di ba? So nakita yung mag-asawa pero hindi na talaga nakita yung bata, di ba? So nadala sa Agos, hindi mo alam kung saan napunta. And siyempre, yung mga ganyan, the human body falls apart, literally, especially in water. Diba? And I was just messaging with her again. Her name's Genevieve. I was messaging her yesterday because I said, I have a class and I'm going to talk about disaster reporting and I'm going to mention Tarin, ganon. And she goes, she can never forget that either. So yun yung that's how also as journalists we understand, even also because of our personal experiences, what grief is like, diba? Yung grief has love with nowhere to go, yung when you lose someone, ganun. And that's a universal experience. You don't have to be a, you don't have to be a journalist to, yung mga ganun ba? And it's so,
we were at the news desk during that time. Nasa news desk na ako nung Yolanda. I remember iba sila DJ Apnin, si Nino Orbeta. So it was the first time for our reporter then to cover. Pero yung yung photographer namin si Nino, Bicolano, veterano ng Bagyo yan eh. And you will know na veterano siya kasi when they arrived in Bicol 2 days before si DJ gusto niya sa hotel sila, gusto ni DJ sa baba raw sila para pag kukuha ng story tatakbo lang. Sabi ni Nino, 3rd floor tayo, super typhoon yan. Hindi maintindihan ni nang dumating yung bagyo, umabot nga ng 3rd floor yung tubig. Now, so, pero after that, what's the bigger realization for me and for journalists was that, after that, kailangan ng lahat ang ginawa namin sa Inquirer noon, every week palitan di ba? Diyan tayo, palitan ng report, pinapalitan, and lahat ng bumabalik, kailangan ng debriefing.
Tama.
Lahat sila,
totoo yan.
yung hindi na, and in fact, I remember ang unang bilin ng reporter namin was that si DJ ayaw na niyang mag-cover ng disaster. Never na siya mag-cover ng disaster kasi nga, of what he experienced. Kala nila.
I think same thing with wars, no? Covering a war.
Yes. Yes.
I think, I hear stories of journalists when they come home, parang
Yeah.
it's different na.
Oo.
So, kailangan talaga din pagtuunan yung well-being ng journalists.
Oo, Marawi, ang dami, the conflict in Mindanao, all these journalists who have to cover. And okay lang siguro sa atin, kunwari, Manila-based ka, di ba? So you parachute literally into the area, then you can leave. Pero kung halimbawa, one of our reporters, David Santos, was in Zamboanga for a long time. Sabi, 10 years akong reporter doon. Doon ako nakatira, so na-experience din namin yung conflict, yung war, parang ganon. Pero yung ibang Manila-based, aalis lang, no? Pero yung talagang war, di ba? Even you covered so many.
Dadagdag ko lang about Yolanda kasi makakalain naman ng mga nanonood sa atin na when the journalist goes into that kind of situation, you are alone. Actually, pag ganyan, lalo na kunyari disaster, yung akala siguro ng mga tao, ibang dyaryo ito, competitors yan. You are together.
You band together. You have to help each
And
other.
kasi yung nangyari sa amin, di ba, inkomunikado kami sa Yolanda. Then bumalik kami ng base. Then after that, I was sent back. Mga 5 days later? No, 3 or 4 days later, pinatulog lang yata ako ng office. And then, bumalik ako. I went to Tacloban. And then, yun, we covered the aftermath of the disaster. And as journalists, we felt we were together. Lahat, parang, punta tayo dito, magtutulungan. And yung image that really stuck with me was, tuwing umaga, doon kasi naglagay kami ng tent doon sa labas ng Tacloban City Hall. May mga tent doon kami natulog. Kasi wala nang mga hotel noon eh. Nasira na rin yung mga hotel. Kung hindi naman nasira, kinuha na ng iba. So, we had tents with other media organizations. Kasama yung PCO, yung Presidential Communications, had a tent behind ours. Tapos, every morning, dadating doon yung nagrarasyon ng tubig sa City Hall. Isang malaking, parang sa fireman, fire truck. Oo. Tapos yung fire truck na yun, doon kami, sabay-sabay kami maliligo. Doon ko naramdaman na, we are in this together. Kasi yung lahat kami doon, maliligo kami sabay-sabay, and parang it was symbolic for me na parang it's the same waters, it's the same we were together. So kumbaga ang gusto ko lang sabihin is kapag may mga ganyan namang situation, you are not alone. You are in a company of people who are ready to face such things as well, and that you draw courage not just from yourself but from people around you.
Pero ano rin kasi at that time, Paterno was the reporter on the field. Kami naman, we were editors nandun sa office and monitoring him. So yung sinabi niya na they were incommunicado for days. Naiyak talaga kami. Editors were really crying.
Sabi niyo, napakabait na tao pa naman.
Kasi sabi namin, anong sasabihin natin sa magulang?
Ayun.
Pag hindi na to nakabalik, parang how do you explain it to a parent? Na sorry, yung anak niyo po na aksidente, or
He was a hero.
he did a good job, but so yun, parang, so nung bumalik sila sa office, naku, we were so happy, talagang yakap, and parang, you're alive.
Yeah, parang like, kanina, di ba, Tina, you were saying, mga war, mga conflict, ganun. I had this, although it wasn't war, it was, something happened in December 1919, Ragay, Camarines Sur. So, di ba, at that time, I mean, for us older ones, we remember that, di ba, yung purge, yung NPA, RJ versus RA, di ba? So, nauso yung mga mass graves. So, sabi ng, at the time, PC, yun yung forerunner ng PNP, sabi ng isang opisyal na, gusto mo sumama, magdi-dig up kami ng mass graves sa NPA. Saan? Sa Camarines Sur, saan doon? Ragay, ano yun? Parang gano'n. What's that? Gano'n.
Some God-forsaken place.
Exactly. 4th class, 5th class municipality. Anyway, you had to take a train, ganito kanyan. Pagdating namin dun sa yung poblasyon kasi town center, yun lang yung sementado. Tapos, we had to walk all the way to the site. 2 hours away. Pero hindi siya patag na road. Carabao Road. As in, bato, tas may stream, may tubig. I mean, talagang God-forsaken talaga, God-forsaken. So, 2 hours, and then, naalala ko yung, habang, briefing naman kami na, syempre, NPA area, gano'n. At one point, merong, we were walking sa yung mga pilapil. Yung pilapil, yun yung, di ba, sa rice field, di ba? O, may gano'n, dito ka naglalakad. Galing sa likod narinig namin, may kumakanta, may nag-hum. Someone was humming the first line of the national anthem. So, dito galing. Tan, 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 ganon. Kinikilabutan kaming ganon. Tapos, yung mga sundalong kasama namin, tahimik lang, dire-diretso lakad, marcha, ganon. A few seconds later, galing dun naman sa harapan namin, the last line of the national anthem, humming again. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, ganon. Tapos sinabihan kami, yun yung nagsisignal sila sa isa't isa. Yung una, yung tan, tan, tanaran, parating na sila, nakikita nyo ba? Yung sagot doon, nakita namin, sarap ambushin. Parang tapos, ang problema, dapat in and out kami. Dapat early morning ang punta doon, tapos pull out. Pag nakuha na yung mga remains, balik sa poblasyon. Yung problema namin, umalis kami lunchtime sa poblasyon. So,
Madilim
dumating
na.
kami late na.
Madilim.
So, eto na. Okay, ang problema natin, dito tayo matutulog. God-forsaken city. Na talagang walang kuryente, nothing. Ano, anyway, the next day, so, nag-interview ako. Nag-interview ako ng matanda. Kasani pangalan niya. Parang pasabilis ng NPA. Yung parang post office ng NPA. Tapos just as I finished interviewing, I had just, alam niyo yung, as journalists kasi, di ba, we're covering outside, no? There are moments na nagiging parang sine, na you can't believe it's happening to you. I had just finished interviewing him, so kabababa ko lang ng microphone na ganon. Tapos yung cameraman ko, binigay niya sa isang tagabuhat. Kasi ang camera namin noong 1990, yung mabibigat Betacam, di ba? Ganon. Na kailangan may magbubuhat kasi maglalakad kayo ng 2 oras. Tapos, binigay niya doon. Tapos, the guy who was carrying it crossed the street. Tapos, parang, after lunch, so everybody's busog and yung medyo tired. And then, tapos na yung storya. Ano yung nakuha mo na yung storya? Then, tahimik. Biglang, may rat-rat, parang, ganon. So, I look to my left and then I can see the bullets like this hitting the clearing na street. Ganon, ganon. And then, I'm thinking, shit, parang sine. Parang gano'n. And then, alam mo if si Pat nag-Yolanda, he's covered many conflict situations, diba? Even you, Chay, parang you can't believe that it's happening to you. And then you're in denial. You're in denial na, I'm incommunicado and there's no food, whatever. Gano'n. Tapos, so anyway, all hell broke loose and then nagsisigawan na because talagang the bullets were coming from all over. And then, dapa, gano'n. And I was thinking, dapa dito. Dapa kami lahat talagang. And then, you could feel the bullets, yung gumaganon.
Nagwiwiz.
Oh, gano'n. And then, yung mga kasama namin, mga sundalo, they were shouting at us, parang, pasok tayo dito sa yung may bahay. Parang, nipahat lang O, kailangan pumasok dito for safety daw, gano'n. And then I was thinking, I can't even move my legs. So I don't even know how, kasi, you can't stand up because if you stand up, tatamaan ka ng bala.
What did you feel at that time?
I was so terrified. I was I was frozen. So I can't remember if they dragged me or something. Basta we got into the house. Pagpasok ng bahay, edi syempre, nipahat, bamboo, edi pumapasok lang yung bala. Tapos pagpasok ganun, yung tumatagos lang sa mga dingding, tapos nagliliparan yung mga, and then they said, higa, gano'n. So, humiga kami lahat. Kasi you can't sit up. So, humiga kami lahat. Then we're trying so hard not to breathe kasi kung nakahiga kang gano'n, dito rin dumadaan yung bala. Gano'n. So, 2 hours na gano'n.
Oh my God.
And then I was thinking, oh my God. And then I was 23 at that time and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. In a God-forsaken municipality, what the hell am I doing here? And then I said, 1 year pa lang akong reporter, mamamatay na ako. Parang gano'n, Then I was saying, oh my God, I went pa to Ateneo. In Ragay, Camarines, Sir Emily.
So, getting NPA, no? Even after that, you continued your
because, you know why? Because, so, pagbalik, may
namatay sa inyo?
Teka, may namatay. So, yung matanda, di ba? Kasi, nung nag-umpisa yung barilan, sabi ni Kasani sa akin, dito ka, gumaganon siya. Yung parang pag ganon sa road. Buti lang good instincts ako. Hindi. I'll stick to yung grupo ko, at yung team ko, at yung mga police, di ba? Yung mga PC. Hindi po. Patay siya. When everything cleared, he had a bullet in his head. And then, another thing. Kasi pagbata talaga, that's why, as a journalist, parang, it's so heart-wrenching pagbata. So, a woman comes out, she's begging for help. She's cradling her 1.5-year-old baby boy in her arms. Natamaan po yung baby ko. So, tinamaan yung babae dito. So, tumagos yung bala dito sa bata. 1.5-year-old, gano'n. Alam mo yung parang, children are like, dapat sila nasa safe zone sila. And children like those are in the middle of a conflict, of a war they know nothing about. And he dies at 1.5 years old. All of us have kids. I mean, our students have younger siblings who are toddlers. Yung mga ganun. Talagang, those are things, so I never forgot. His name was Gilbert. I never forgot him. 1.5-year-old, I never forget Tarin Sustento, 3 years old. Parang ganon, ano. And anyway, but just to, yung tumuloy-tuloy pa rin ako, di ba? Parang, ikaw, Pat, no matter what happened as a reporter, tumuloy ka,
Oo
di ba?
naman.
Shai, no matter what happened, di ba? Chito, John, everything, VJ, di ba? No matter what happens, Tina, di ba? Tuloy-tuloy lang tayo, di ba? Kasi after that episode na naka-survive ako ng ambush, feeling ko, I'm invincible pala. but anyway, ang daldal ko na, tama na. Teka, si Chito magkikwento.
More of how I dealt with the reporters and how we kasi I remember sa Bicol at that time there was we assigned a reporter. There was a malaking bagyo. Hindi ko maalala kung anong bagyo yun sa Bicol just before Yolanda. And kasi every bagyo parang learning ng desk ng news desk, you learn, then you apply. Ang naging isang problema namin with discovery namin during sa desk was ang hindi pag tinamaan ng bagyo yung isang bayan at meron kang, for example, correspondents there. So sa Bicol, every year yan meron kang paano gagawin mo kung yung biktima mismo
Yung reporter.
yung mga journalist na nandun. So what do we do? So ganun. One of the learnings that we applied was sagot natin yung yung more than the financial and everything was pati yung paggamot niya kasi nga yung PTSD is real.
Yeah.
So that's something na learned and in-apply namin nung nasa nung dumating na yung panahon ng Yolanda and everything. So yung mga ganung is when you deal with real people as sa news desk, and I'm sure that you felt that when Pat was missing for 5 days, di ba? How we can journalists sometimes are also the victims when they in the coverages, and sometimes you will see parang the triumph of human spirit din eh.
Correct.
Na you never thought that you had it in you. Pero hindi ka naman superhero. You're just doing your job. Parang ganun yung natin eh. And every day sa news desk, every day you see that it happens. And tayo, we take it for granted. Pero when you step back and you look at the jobs that our people do, and you'll realize na I don't know if I can use this word here, pero putya, ang galing ng mga bata natin. I mean, di ba? I mean, tayo sa atin kasi dahil we deal with it every day, yung humaharap sa tinatakot ng mga, for example, nung panahon nung Tokhang. Siyempre, sabihan ng mga pulis na huwag yan ang punan yan, huwag yan ang yan. Pero you still do it. And then, sa atin parang ordinary, pero when you step back and look at our people, they're really doing a super job.
Hell of a great job.
Diba? And particularly sa Pilipinas siguro. I don't know, sa ibang bansa kung nakaka-experience sila ng mga ganito. Naalala ko lang kasi dati, meron kaming mga photographers noon, sila Boy Cabrido noon. Nagpunta sila ng Hong Kong after being going through the fire, working with in the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Pumunta sila ng Hong Kong. Pagdating lang ng Hong Kong, ang kinukunan lang nila anniversary, openings, inauguration.
Nag-commercial ko.
Oh,
Chicken,
pero
chicken
news pa rin sila. News pa rin sila, kaya lang.
Walang
Pag nasa Pilipinas ka talaga, nasa pressure cooker ka everyday. Parang ganun di ba? Ang pahinga mo lang pag day off mo. Di ba?
Day off ba?
Kung may day off ka, yun ang susunod.
Parang the Philippines is the best place to be a journalist. Diba?
To whom does that appeal?
I don't know.
Chito?
I don't know.
What that kind of work?
Masochists.
Pero when you know you help people,
Yeah, exactly.
when you know you...
I think yun eh. Parang in the end, yung what
Yes.
Tina said kanina, in the end, it's really about public service. Parang it's not a selfish profession eh. It's a vocation. Parang para kang ang pare eh.
Calling.
It's a calling. It won't appeal to everyone. Some people would say that's not for me. Too much danger, too much risk. I'm not that type of person. And okay naman 'yon, tanggap naman 'yon. But there are people who are able to look beyond themselves and probably are also very good photographers, very good videographers, very good writers, and intelligent. They can make sense of very complex issues. They can write well and explain well. Pero hindi lang siya about the self. Kasi kahit tayo, di ba? Ayaw natin yung reporter na
We're not part of the
na
story.
narcissistic,
Yeah. We're
na
not part
very
of the story.
egoistic. We look up to journalists who are genuinely concerned about other people, and I think that's really the attraction of journalism. It's not about you, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
other
And if I
people.
may add to
Yeah.
what Shai said, of course we hear all these stories, but there are also inspiring stories, you know. Hindi lang naman parate sa war zone and all that. Because if I may also share lang for background, kasi di ba you guys are journalists and you know, hats off to you guys, you know, such a noble job. But ako naman kasi napunta ako sa DZMM. I really believe it was God who led me there because hindi talaga yun yung una kong gusto sa broadcast media, but it was the open door and then I went there. And then later on nagka-opening kasi sa promotions, okay? So I transferred there. But naging account ko kasi ever since is to promote yung mga news. Regional news, Manila radio news, not the Manila TV news, but Manila radio news like DZMM. And I worked with mga journalists and kinover din nila kasi mga inspiring stories. So it's not just, because pareho din yung trabaho natin actually, me in the promotion side. I also do storytelling. You also
Right.
do storytelling. I do storytelling.
That's true.
Okay, so the storytelling can be a story about the war, about corruption, diba, to expose and to bring the truth. But it can also be stories about, you know, inspiring people. And yun yung nakita ko rin na in TV Patrol, diba sa TV Patrol, meron sila parating mga feature about stories of ordinary people who succeed in life despite all the challenges. So I think that's also one aspect of journalism, where you get not just to empower them with information, but you get to inspire them, diba? To, you know, hey, it can be better despite of what's happening. So I guess that's the balance also.
Yeah.
And if I may share lang yung but it's all here lang. So one of my most memorable experiences also, in addition to the Pinatubo, was when I transferred na to the promotions group, the Creative Communications Management. And we were tasked to create a station ID for DZMM. So meron dyan yung Silver Radyo, 25th anniversary, and then tatlong
Naalala ko
dekada,
yun.
which is the 30th. And of course, my team and I, we would research, we would interview, we would shoot the different anchors, and then nakita namin how, you know, through those years, talagang news, the way they delivered news is actually a form of public service also. Nakita ko yun eh. And ang daming inspiring stories na na pinigay nila doon sa news. Like example, I don't know if you're familiar, yung may nawawalang bata. Tapos, dinala, I can't remember kung dinala sa DZBB, pero yung nananawagan yata nasa DZMM or Palet. And then, nag-usap yung dalawang station because a caller said, hey, yung hinahanap nyo nasa kabila. And then, napag-meet. So, these are inspiring stories where you see na as a journalist, you know, you get to help people and real people, you know, it does not just end with yourself, but it goes beyond yourself. Diba? It makes an impact and helps make the lives of others better. So yun, I just wanted to share that part of journalism.
Teka, balik lang tayo sandali sa sinabi ni Chito, yung Tokhang. Kasi naalala ko may ikikwento si Chai and John about the interviews with Matobato and Las Cañas.
Yeah.
Ano yun? Of
Ito-
course, these are the celebrated.
Si Edgar
cases.
Matobato and Art Las Cañas were two witnesses. They're now witnesses sa ICC against Duterte. Both of them were, si Matobato was part of the Davao Death Squad, and Art Las Cañas was also his superior, parang higher officer. And they turned around and they shared the information na that they knew about the killings. Why did they do it? Medyo may spiritual aspect din eh. Pero dun sa kwento nila, yung realization ko rin, if you talk about the goodness of people, ito naman the evil of people. Parang the brutality of people, what they could be capable of na in your mind, hindi mo maisip, bakit gagawin ng isang tao to? For example, kinukwento nila, meron silang kinuha na teenagers, mga police, siguro mistaken identity. They thought they were drug users. Kinuha, nilagay sa sasakyan, ni-rape yung mga bata. Teenagers sa mga babae. Ni-rape sila, pinagtulungan ng mga police. They were raped in a vehicle. And pinatay, and then chinap-chop, and then dinala yung remains buried somewhere. Tapos si Edgar Matubato, yung kwento niya, yung mga pinapapatay, binabiyak nila yung tiyan, naglalagay sila ng hollow blocks para pag nilagay sa laot yung katawan, magsisink yung katawan. Tapos yun, sabi niya, sinachop-chop namin yung katawan. Parang sabi ko, bakit? Why do you have to do that? Kailangan magpasikat kasi yun yung utos, patayin. So, talagang yung culture of killing, parang it was very, very strong dun sa DDS, dun sa Davao. And shocking siya sa akin pero yun na nga, parang minulto sila. Nagpapakita yung spirit ng mga babae. And yun yung, hindi siya makatulog, and nagbalik loob siya. And then it became a very religious thing. Parang meron siyang nakitang image of the Blessed Virgin Mary nandun sa basura, kinuha niya. And then he took care of it, and then yun, he preserved it, and dala-dala niya. And I think dala-dala niya all the way to wherever he is in Europe now. John, you also interviewed
in
them.
2017, I had a chance to interview first Matubato, and then sometime later Arturo Las Cañas. Ito yung parang cloak and dagger stuff na for us to be able to meet each one. Parang dadaling ka sa ibang lugar, tapos lilipat ng sasakyan, papasok yung sasakyan sa isang subdivision, tapos mag-i-exit sa likod. Just in case Duterte's people were following, no? And then you end up in this place na alam ko kung saan, no? So I actually don't know where the interviews took place. For me, I was really struck by the contrast in their stories. Kasi si Matubato, turns out parang cellular yung organization ng Davao Death Squad.
Compartmentalized.
So
one doesn't know what the others do.
Si Matubato, ito yung alam niya.
Okay.
Dito. Si Las Cañas, mas marami siyang alam kasi he was right next to Duterte. Parang mas marami. So, ganito. Ayan yung Lambada Boys. Iba naman, parang ganyan. I was really struck by that na iba yung level of knowledge ni Las Cañas. And I think he is the more crucial witness kasi siya yung nag-uutos, no? Based on kung sinasabi ni City Mayor or ni Superman.
Superman?
Yun na minsan tawag nila kay Duterte. Tapos isa pa, again, also with the structure, no? Parang Darwin yan he encouraged competition. He would give out rewards for those who killed the most in a given month. So talagang nag-aabulan sila ng quota, kumbaga. Yung sinasabi nga ni China, parang the enormity of evil. Makikita mo dun no? Talagang, my God. And that went on for so many years. No? So parang, actually nakakagulat. The reason I did those interviews, I'm actually desk bound. No? I work, but when there's a chance to do what the reporters are doing, I try to jump at the chance. So for instance, when I was with Inquirer.net and I sent reporters to cover the night crawlers, to be with the night crawlers to cover the killings, I made sure that one night I went. So on that night I went, December 2016, there were 8 killings but I only saw 5 bodies. Because nagsimula na pala, December 2016, yung may bago silang modus na they would bring the bodies to the hospital para DOA na. So I think by that time, they had already made the message clear. So doon, nakita ko si Rafi Lerma, naghihintay lang doon sa sina Pat Evangelista, naghihintay lang doon sa Makati Central Police District. Tapos biglang may tutunog, may ganito. Tapos maghahabulan, no? Abot doon sa lugar. It's surreal. And so, I would like to add my voice to what Chito said, no? Yung mga ginagawa ng mga reporters talaga. Hindi naman lahat ng reporters ganun ang trabaho, no? There are many forms of journalism. There are many jobs in journalism. We always give pride of place to yung mga the difficult jobs kasi mahirap talaga, no? And they come out like ma-ambush pa kayo and so on. Ibang level yan. So I wanted to experience what they were going through, and I cannot imagine someone like Rafi Lerma, who was a guest in my classes Media and Politics Forum very recently, seeing that every day for 6 years. No? Ito, one night lang. 5 bodies. Hindi mo makakalimutan yan. Ito, every night. So my God. That's why he's taking it upon himself to give witness, a continuing witness, even after wala na si Duterte. Talagang nag-iba yung buhay niya because of that. And I'm sure it happened for other reporters covering the war on drugs then.